This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
I'm cool with that, but if not, get you some more beef, man. You did it at 12, do it again here at 19. You went offensive line at 12, go defensive line. If you went defensive line at 12, go offensive line here. To me, that's what they should do. What they won't do, go receiver. I don't see them taking a receiver. They go out to get the Wayne Bowl, they go out to get Brian Hartline, they feel good about what they got at receiver, I think. I don't see them going receiver, not early in the draft, like they probably should, but I see them passing up on receiver. And if they do get one later on in the draft. What will they ultimately do? Get beat for trade. I think they're either going to trade this pick with 12 and package it to go up, or they're going to get beat at 19. That's just the way I see it for the Browns. You go to the Eagles at number 20. What should the Eagles do? Take a wide receiver or take a pass rusher. Okay, that whole Smith thing last year didn't go so well. I'm not giving up on the kid, neither should you, but you need to get pressure. Trent Cole, no longer there. I think you could easily get some more pressure on the quarterback. And I hope you don't think that what my man from the Texans did last year, his name escapes me right now, Connor Barlow. Hope you don't think Connor is gonna go and go beast mode like that again in 18 and a half or whatever. He's not doing that again. I can assure you, Connor Barlow does not have that many sacks. So pass rusher is in play, but to me, it's wide receiver here at 20 for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm hearing they're still trying to trade up. Chip, give up already. Stop, okay? What won't they do? Trade. I just don't see them trading. At least not back. If they can get up somehow and get Marcus Mariota, you bet your bottom dollar they're going to do that. I just don't see it happening though. And I don't see them moving backwards because to me, maybe they could move back. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Chip Kelly moving backwards from 20 when he can get his hands on a big receiver and he loves himself some big wide receivers. What will they do? I think they'll take a receiver here. I think that's the pick. I think that's the choice. I think when it's all said and done, if he can't get Mariota, which I don't see how he does it, I see Chip settling on a receiver and moving forward. Cincinnati Bengals at 21. What should they do? Take a character risk player right here. There's going to be a plethora of them available for you at 21. Nobody whispers in the ears of players better than Marvin Lewis and that staff. You're going to have Dorial Green-Beckham there. You're going to have Shane Ray probably there. You're going to have Randy Gregory probably sitting there. You could use every single one of those players. Both of those positions are needy positions on the Cincinnati Bengals team. So to me, take a character risk guy. What they probably won't do is pass on talent. Cincinnati has done a great job over the years in the draft of just getting talented football players. I just named 3 of the most talented players in this draft, and they're falling and dropping like rocks because of their off-the-field issues. I see the Cincinnati Bengals taking the lesser of the 3 evils and making them a Cincinnati Bengal. And what will they ultimately do? Take a player that's fallen in this draft. One of those players is going to be thrown a life raft by the Cincinnati Bengals at 21. Don't know which one, but one of those guys I think will ultimately be a Cincinnati Bengal. Steelers at 22. What should they do? Take elite level talent. Please. Okay? I just named 3 guys that'll be around. You don't need DGB. Your receiver core looks really good right now. So I can go ahead and scratch him off the list. But those 2 edge pass rushers, boy, you had James Harrison trying to get pressure on the quarterback for you last year. Did I remind you of that? You could use you some of that, man. So look, get you some of that elite stuff. I know your franchise is pretty clean. You already got 1 week smoke. You really don't need another. But tell you what, it's going to be pretty tempting when Shane Ray or Randy Gregory sitting there on the board for you. Hard to pass up a top 10 talent when you're sitting at 22. What won't the Steelers do? Take a character risk guy. I just don't see the Steelers looking at those guys and saying, is the risk worth the reward? And I can see the Steelers easily saying that they too rich for my blood. They get in too much trouble for me. I don't trust those guys. We got 1 week smoke over here that we're trying to deal with. I easily can see the Steelers saying, you know what? We're going to have to pass. Even though it's pretty tempting, we're going to have to pass. What the Steelers will do, take a corner, safety, or a rusher. Bud Dupree could be in play for them at 22. I could see them taking a cornerback. Marcus Peters, even though he's a risk with some red flags, it wasn't anything legal. It was something with the coaching staff that got him kicked off the team. So I think they're willing to bypass that, and they may take Marcus Peters, or they're going to take the safety out of Alabama, or maybe Demarius Randall, who knows, we'll see. I think that's what they ultimately do. Secondary help, or they go with a pass rusher. At 23, the Lions, what should they do? Trade or take an offensive lineman? To me, it's really simple. If you're the Lions, I think if Melvin Gordon is on the board still, that's a hot spot. Somebody's going to want to come and get him. I say you get out of there and allow somebody to come up and you try to rob them blind in the process while you're at it. If not, you could always use offensive line help if you can't get out. Say that's the next best thing if you are the Detroit Lions. What they won't do is select a running back. I've heard all of the Todd Gurley talk. I've heard all of the Melvin Gordon talk. We know Gurley won't be there at 23, but maybe Melvin Gordon III will be there at number 23. And if he is, no, I just don't. I like Joyke Bell. I like Theo Riddick. I don't think you need to add, similar to what the Rams have going on. I like what you got going on in your backfield. You don't need to add elite. If you're going to add anything, have it be another complimentary back. Do it running back by committee. I think you've got enough assets there to be comfortable. I can't see the Lions taking a running back. What will the Lions ultimately do? Trade or take beef? I think they're either going to trade out of this pick or they're going to take a defensive lineman. We know about them losing a defensive tackle or two in free agency with both of their guys last year that were starters gone from the roster. Yeah, they did get Haloti Ngata, but I could easily see them getting another defensive lineman, or they could draft offensive line like I've already said. That's what I see the Lions ultimately doing at 23. Cards at 24. Get you a running back at number 24 or a defensive tackle. That's what I see them doing. That's what I think they should do, okay? They should get them a running back. And if they got to trade up to do so, do it. You need a running back in Arizona. That's the missing piece on that offense. Don't have it. You need to find a way to get it. If you can't and you can't move, you got to take a defensive lineman because you could use some of that help as well after you lose Dan Williams and Darnell Dockett in free agency. What won't they do? Get a running back. I can't see either one of the top two running backs being around at 24. The Cardinals, like I just said, want a running back. They have to move up and go get him. If they see a player and they diagnose that as a need and they feel like this is a guy that we gotta have, go make it happen. Otherwise, if you sit tight at 24, you're not getting a running back. Not one that is worthy of being selected in the first round. What they will ultimately do, have to settle for a defensive tackle because they didn't go get a running back, or they're going to have to trade up. That's what they're ultimately going to have to do. Either trade up to go get the running back, or just sit tight and take you a defensive tackle and be happy with that. Carolina Panthers at 25. What should they do? They should get Cam Newton another weapon at wide receiver. And I think Dorial Green-Beckham might still be there. If he is, I say you take him. If Jalen Strong is still on the board, I say you take him. I don't know about Jalen Strong. I take that back because you already got a Jalen Strong on your team. His name is Calvin Benjamin. So I don't know if you need another one of those dudes. But DGB is a very tempting situation. I just don't know if the Panthers have enough gumption to pull the trigger on that or not. But that's what I think they should do. Take the receiver or take an offensive lineman. What won't they do? They won't take a receiver. I just don't see Dave Gettleman 2 years in a row taking a receiver, bypassing offensive line. I thought he was going to take offensive line last year. Good thing he didn't take offensive line last year because that wouldn't have worked out for the Panthers in the first round. But I don't see him saying, for the second year in a row, I'm going to take a wide receiver to help Cam Newton out. It just makes too much sense to me. They're going to take an offensive lineman. That's what I think they're going to do. What they ultimately will do, take offensive line. I think they're going to take the best available tackle on the board. Might be Andrews Pete at that point for me. I think he'll be around. If not, Humphreys of Florida might be there. You got options. They'll take one of those guys off the board, I think, at 25 and feel good about solidifying their offensive line. Ravens at 26. What should they do? Take a wide receiver or a cornerback. And I think I think Marcus Peters could still be on the board. I think that the Kevin Johnson kid out of Wake can still be on the board. I think you'll have a lot of options on the board at 26. Receiver, DGB, my goodness, I keep saying his name over and over for a reason. You need a number one receiver out in Baltimore. Torrey Smith is now gone. You need to replace him. Steve Smith, he only got 2 years left in football. You got to do something at receiver. To me, this is the time to address that. Will they do it? I'm not sure. Let's talk about what they won't do, though. What they won't do is take a receiver. I don't see them taking a receiver here because I think Perriman might be gone by then. I think Jalen Strong will be gone by then. I know the big three is gone by then. So if all 5 of those guys are off the board, now you're looking at DGB. Now you're looking at Nelson Aguilar. Now you're looking at that second group of receivers. And I just don't know if the Raiders will be willing to pull the trigger at 26 on those guys. To me, they need to get DGB and stop playing. But again, I don't know if that fits in the mold of what Ozzie Newsome does as a general manager. And after last year, with the Ray Rice situation, you know the Ravens don't want any part of any kind of controversy. None of it. They don't want any part of it. So if they feel like DGB is too big of a risk, they are not even going to have him on their board in the first round. What they will ultimately do, I think they'll ultimately take a cornerback or a safety. I see them going the safe route, taking a cornerback. They could even take a safety. I could see that being a possibility for them as well. So I just see the Ravens getting secondary help. Their secondary was in shambles last season. I see them trying to address that. And the only way I see them taking a safety, you know Ozzie, coming from the University of Alabama, loves Bama players. He took one last year. He ended up being a rookie defensive player of the year, all-pro last year in his rookie season. I don't think for 1 second Ozzie will hesitate to turn in the card if Landon Collins is on the board. He loves Alabama football players. He will not, I repeat, not hesitate. He took Upshaw. He took the linebacker last year, Mosley. He would definitely take Collins if he's on the board. Don't think Ozzie won't, but he will. So, you go to the Cowboys at 27. What should they do? They should take the corner, they should take the safety, they should take defensive line or running back. That's what they should do. They've got options. They need cornerback or safety help. They could use either one. They could use defensive line help. They could easily use a new running back. So those are all positions. You're not getting good value at 27 at running back. So I want to go ahead and take that off the list. What they won't do at 27, take a running back. I just don't think the value is there. With Gurley and Gordon gone, I just don't think there's a running back there worth taking at 27. So then, and Jerry Jones has already said, we're not hard pressed at running back. Translation, I believe in my offensive line. I can take a running back in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round and feel good about them. We're not taking a running back in the 1st round unless one of those big boys are there, and they won't be. Trust me, they won't be at 27. So then, what will the Cowboys ultimately do? They're going to take secondary help. I think that was the Achilles heel last year. The inability to get to the quarterback, the inability to stop teams in the secondary. There's still an issue there. They could use a cornerback. They could use a safety. I think they'll take one of those guys off the board if they don't trade out of the 1st round. Broncos at 28. What should the Broncos do? Get offensive line help. I mean, there's not nothing else to talk about. Peyton Manning needs offensive protection in front of him. You have to draft offensive line to me if you are the Denver Broncos. What won't they do? Trade out of this pick. I don't think the Broncos push the chips to the middle of the table. When they went and got Peyton Manning, it was Super Bowl or bust. It's been that way since he's been on the roster. You can't afford to trade out of. You need to get a guy that can help you right now. That's what 1st rounders are for. You get you a player that can help you in season 1 because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to win right now. Trading out of the 1st round doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. What will the Broncos do? I think they're either getting a pass rusher or they're getting an offensive lineman. To me, offensive line trumps everything else. If there's a player that you like there, you take them. If not, maybe you go pass rusher and keep it moving. DeMarcus Ware will not be around for much longer, so that makes a lot of sense. Colts at 29, what should they do? They should trade up and get a running back because to me, that's the missing link on that offense. You want to make this offense complete? You go out and get you a running back. I know you got Frank Gore. Again, Frank Gore is not going to be playing for much longer. What has he got? 2 years max left in him? A year? Maybe. You need to get that running back and have him groomed by Frank Gore to take over the throne. But will they do that? Probably not, and I wouldn't blame them. Again, you feel good about where you are. You don't want to give up assets. I understand you don't want to trade any picks. You've already went down that road, and we saw how unsuccessful that was going out and getting Trent Richardson. That alone should scare them straight to not trade up for a running back, but we will see. What they won't do, get an elite running back. You just can't at 29. I just talked about it with the Cowboys. It's not happening for the Colts. I don't see them trading up. You know one's not falling in your lap at 29. You're not getting an elite back at 29. What they will do is take some beat. I think at the end of the day, offensive line, defensive line, they're going to get themselves some beef up front on one of the sides of the football. It really doesn't matter to me. Best player available in the trenches. You take them, turn the card in, and you see what happens if you're the Colts. Packers at 30. What they won't or what they should do, take a linebacker or a corner. You lose a Tramon Williams in free agency. I don't really like the way your cornerback situation looks. I like Micah Hyde. I like my Micah Hyde in the slot. I like Sam Shields. I love Sam Shields actually. He needs a running mate across the field from him. I'd love to see you take a cornerback here or a linebacker. No more A.J. Hawk. That position, Brad Jones, I just would love to see you go inside linebacker or corner if you are the Packers. What they won't do, they won't settle for anything less than a quality football player or a great value. The Packers, they know how to do this thing we call the draft, okay? So I expect the Packers to get great value at the end of the first round. To me, the best value in the first round comes at the beginning and the very end. If you're in the middle, you're stuck like Chuck. If you're at the beginning, you're going to get something elite. If you're at the back end, you're going to get some great value at the end of the first round. That's generally how it goes. And so I expect the Packers, who are usually picking around this area, to find a way to get a good football player on their team. What will they ultimately do? Linebacker or cornerback. To me, those are their two options. I expect the Packers to take BPA, best player available, and I think inside linebacker is going to be their player of choice, and I think they're going to make a great decision on whomever they select at 30. 31, Saints, second time around in the first round. What should they do? Replenish the roster. You traded away a bunch of bodies in the offseason. Ben Grubbs. You traded away a receiver in Kenny Stills. You made a lot of different things happen. You traded away Jimmy Graham. You need to replenish this roster in this draft. And so that's what I think they should do at 31. What won't they do? Take a tight end. I would love to see you take Max Williams here at 31. I would love to see you take a receiver. I would love to see you get a guard. I would love to see you replenish what you lost in the offseason. I don't know if you're going to do any of that in the first round. I can assure you, though, I don't see you taking Max Williams, especially after he bombed the interviews in the first round. I just don't see you taking a tight end and making a tight end a selection in the first round. What will they do? Get Sean Payton a new toy. I think he's infatuated with Dorsett, the receiver out of Miami. I think Philip Dorsett is going to be the newest New Orleans Saint. I think the staff and Sean Payton feel like he fits what they want to do. Offensively, gives them speed. And I think they are enamored with what he brings to the table, and he's going to be a Saint at 31. That's what I think they're going to ultimately do. Pats, the New England Patriots at 32. The Pats, what should they do? I think they need to draft a cornerback. I've documented this already. My mock draft basically told you what my thinking is and what my thought process is with the Patriots and what they should do. They need to get a cornerback. You lose both of your starting corners from a season ago. I don't think you can just gloss over that and say we'll address it later on. I think you need to address it right now in the first round. What they won't do is they won't settle. Much like the Green Bay Packers, they're not as good at the draft. Bill Belichick has laid egg after egg after egg, especially when you're talking wide receiver and the likes. He does not do a great job of drafting in the draft. I think that's something that he could be better at, but they will get out. they don't like what they see. They don't feel like any of these guys fit the Patriot blueprint. They don't feel like they're getting great value. Somebody calls, they'll pick up the phone and they'll get the hell out of Dodge. So they won't settle at 32. That's what they won't do. What they will ultimately do, to me, take wide receiver, defensive line, or cornerback. I think those are the three positions the Patriots will target in the first round, and that's what I see them addressing with the final pick of the 2015 first round. And so that's what I see teams doing. What should they do? What won't they do? What they ultimately will do in the first round. Hope you enjoyed that. It's the last time you'll see me, except for Redskins fans. You'll probably see my face again at some point before the draft, but that's the last time. Let's enjoy the draft. We've finally gotten here. Feels good to finally say that. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. See you tomorrow.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.